People of Reddit, what is your opinion on the death penalty? As an atheist, my life is the only thing I have. The thought of losing everything I'll ever be because of a miscarriage of justice is horrific to me. Aside from that, the people who are genuinely guilty should give back to society by being studied to determine what made them do it in the first place. If it can prevent future crimes, it redresses the balance a tiny bit. The biggest danger of the death penalty is its use as political instrument to silence the opposition and the killing of wrongful convicted people. On the other hand, the taxpayer has to pay for the imprisonment of life-sentenced prisoners, which can be expensive. Also, in some countries, like mine, Germany, sentences are often ridiculously low, which makes you wish that there would be a death sentence in some cases. Especially when it's about extremely heinous crimes. I think it's a bit contradictory to kill someone for being a murderer. But that aside, the legal system still has its flaws, and so does criminal science, so wrongful conviction is always a possibility. During last night's bout of insomnia, I ended up pondering the morality of the death penalty, and I'm torn. Obviously, they've done something absolutely horrifying to warrant it, and it also makes sense from a financial perspective, seeing as serving life in jail is done on taxpayer dollars. I hear some cases and my first thought is, Jesus, what a despicable animal. I hope he fries, but are we really in a position to end a life? Even if that person is terrible and absolutely should not be free, do we have the right to decide who lives and who dies? That's a rather complicated issue, because if the criminal knows that the sentence is death penalty of the crime, why not just go a bit further? What they're going to do? Kill the person twice? Then again, people who commit crimes so heinous that they should be executed, should never be released, never ever. Just stuck them into a cell and throw away the key. I think that is a bigger deterrent, knowing that they will be forced to live in hellish conditions until they die naturally. The death penalty is underutilized and people who are against it are naive. I follow a lot of true crime stories. If the average person knew what kind of predators existed, they would support the death penalty. Some people are truly monsters, unfit for society and undeserving of life. Life imprisonment is essentially a death sentence anyway, carried out over many years. Some people think it isn't the government's place to decide human life. The government shows who lives and dies daily. The US just killed 12 people, mostly children, in a drone strike to prevent a possible attack on Kabul airport. Those 12 got no trial, no appeal, no pity and no apology from the government that murdered them. The average American isn't protesting that, but people have the nerve to suggest the death penalty is barbaric. That's ethnocentrism and selfishness. Our government can unilaterally murder non-citizens in poor countries with drones but can't convict a brutal murderer to a humane, clinical death. Death penalty provides incentives to confess to crimes to avoid expensive trials. The death penalty allows more severe punishment for more severe infractions. The death penalty deters those with life sentences of committing more crimes in prison. To be honest, I would be fine with executing most violent offenders. There's a very different thought process between predators and regular people. If we can murder some Pashtun family because the dad had the contact info of a bomb maker in his phone, why can't we execute a citizen for murder? Even if you could reform a person, I don't think some people deserve a second chance. There's plenty of people already. I don't care if some murderer finds Jesus and wants to do charity work. I like the idea, or at least my lizard brain does. I think it's a compelling idea. I think most people would agree that there are some crimes that a person can never be redeemed from, and if someone, say, murdered my mother, I'd want them to suffer in every imaginable way. But I also recognize that the legal system isn't flawless. People get wrongly convicted. People have historically been executed and then found to have been innocent. Until there can be 100% certainty that nobody would ever been wrongly executed, nobody should be. We can't be trusted as a society to use it appropriately. People decide who lives and who dies all the time. Doctors have to triage some patients over others, We put women and children in lifeboats first, we defend ourselves and our property from those that may harm them, so I don't really know if that argument holds much weight. It's the easy way out. I'd rather have a criminal, even those who commit the most heinous of crimes, be stuck with life without parole instead. This way we aren't killing any innocent people. Thank you Innocence Project. The state saves on the appeals process, and those who do commit the kind of crimes worth the death penalty still aren't getting back out into the public anyway. My stance is that I don't have enough knowledge to have a stance on this topic. It's complicated. People who hurt others intentionally should be stopped from doing so. Some crimes like murder evoke a feeling in me like it should be avenged. But the poor get punished harder than the rich. In my country, and I suspect the rest of the world, we have liberty and justice for those who can afford it. So, I feel like the harshest penalties under law, whether it's life without parole or the death penalty, are going to mostly fall on people who either have too little money or too much melanin. There's a chance for redemption or setting them free if the person is proven innocent is still alive. So, in the end I guess I oppose it, even though my instinct is to kill the bad guys when I first hear about the case. Honestly, I believe we should have one in place for people that would normally be sentenced to life with no chance of release and are clearly beyond rehab. Most criminals, I believe, are simply either desperate, lost in life, or lived in circumstances that required them to do these things to survive. The best thing we can do is try to help get them into a better life ideally. However, for those that are clearly dangerous and unwilling, may as well get it over with instead of subjecting them to 50 years of horrid treatment. The punishment first attitude of many countries ends up wasting too much money punishing small offenses like having weed on you, and conversely too much on feeding criminals that are just sitting in a miserable cell for the rest of their lives. Too many prisons are overflowing, so either get them out or end it for them, because at the end of the day, they are all still human. Even if they did something horrible, we should try to minimize suffering or we are just as bad. Man, I even don't delete the temporary files in my computer. How are people okay with killing any other person? Almost every year we learn a convict gets cleared because of new evidence or stuff. Can you revive them in that case? Let's say we killed at them and learned they were innocent, then we, as people who decided to kill them, are guilty and we should be killed, for justice. If someone has the legal capability to sentence someone to die or execute them, they must kill themselves along with the sentenced. Its only purpose is retribution. Death sentence trials cost more than life imprisonment, and innocent people get lumped in with the guilty people. I'm not morally opposed to the idea that a person who does horrible things should be removed from the world, but mistakes will happen in the criminal justice system and it's not cost effective. Thank you for listening to Campfire TTS. Please like, comment, and subscribe.